Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the first intermediate grade. Our textbook is Super Goal 1 and today we're going to review 2 units. We will start with the 2 units that we had in the second semester. So this lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazna Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Salih Al-Ajan. So let's begin. Our unit that we're going to review for today is the second unit in the second semester, which is Where Do You Live? And you remember that in this unit we talked about one theme, which is the neighborhood. And we have talked about neighborhoods from different parts of the world. And we said that, what do you mean by neighborhood? It's a specific area inside a city. And we gave an example of the neighborhood we have in Riyadh. So as you can see here, this is a map of the neighborhoods we can see in Riyadh. And we see a lot of those squares are, those squares are neighborhoods. Those are the neighborhoods of the city of Riyadh. And we asked a very important question, which is the title of this unit. Where do you live? And we learn how can we describe and how can we talk about the facilities and the places we have in our neighborhood. And we also talked about some places that we can normally find in any neighborhood. For example, we call a place that where we go to eat, we call it a restaurant. And also we call a place to take a walk, the park. And the place that has many stores, we call it the mall. And the place that where we go to exercise and work out, which is the health club or the gym, and a place to buy a book, which is the bookstore. So all of these places, we usually find them in a neighborhood. And also we have talked about other places like, for example, a bakery and supermarket and a bank and a lot of places. And also we have 2 important questions, and we said when you want to learn more about any neighborhood, here are a couple of questions that you may ask anyone you know just to give you more information about a neighborhood. For example, the first one is, where do you live? The first one, where do you live? And you can think of any answer you like, whether you're going to answer using a street name or using a building or using even a neighborhood's name. And we're going to show later how we did this, or how did we answer all of these places. Also, the other question is when you ask about the facilities, when you ask about places in a neighborhood, you can have questions like this. Are there any restaurants near you? Are there any restaurant near you? You can think of any place, of any store, and you can mention it here. Are there any restaurants? Are there any malls? Are there any supermarkets when you want to learn more about a neighborhood? And also, as to answer of this question, where do you live? We have learned 3 ways to answer this question. The first one is using the preposition in. We use the verb live plus preposition. We said, for example, I live in Jeddah. I live in Jeddah. And we also said that we use the preposition in when we talk about cities. We use the preposition in when we talk about cities. The other way to answer this question, where do you live? Which is, I live on the 3rd floor. I live on the 3rd floor. And here we use the preposition on when we talk about building. We use the preposition on when we talk about building. And the third one, I live on First Avenue. Also, we use the preposition on when we talk about streets. So here are 3 ways to answer this question. We said that we can use live plus preposition in when we talk about cities. I live in Riyadh, I live in Jeddah. And we can use on to talk about buildings. For example, I live on the 3rd floor. And we can use on as well to talk about streets. For example, I live on First Avenue. I live on King Abdulaziz Street. So you can name the street you live in using those prepositions. Also, we have learned the 6 prepositions that regarding places. For example, the first one is across from, and we use this when we talk about a place that is opposite another place, and also between. And we mean by between when there is a place between, or a store, for example, between 2 stores, and he is between them. And also next to, which is side by side, next to a place. And on, when we say, for example, on the corner, we use this preposition to talk about places that are on the corner. And also near and far. Near it means very close, and far it means very, it's not that close and it's very far. These are the prepositions we have learned in that unit. And also on page 59 we had a listening exercise. And you remember when I said that, imagine you are standing at this point and listen to the directions and try to help the tourist go around this map. For example, we have learned how to ask him to go straight and turn right to reach the subway station. Also, we help him to how to go to the park. We said just to go straight and turn left, you'll see the park is right across from the supermarket. So also we have learned other imperatives like go straight, turn right, turn left, and we use those imperatives for directions, for giving directions for a tourist, or just pointing at the map for anyone who wants to learn more about a city or a neighborhood. And also on page 60 we have listened to a conversation between Tom, John, and Louise, where Tom wants to go to a place and John suggests how to get there, and Louise came in and helped them what to take exactly. Take the F line on the subway and get off the 52nd Street station. The park is right across from the station. Here is also we have learned more about how to give directions to someone who wants to be in a certain place. And also we said that after the conversation, here we have a couple of questions about you. Tell us, where do you live? And you remember we gave 3 different ways to answer this question, where do you live? Also, what is your neighborhood like? Describe your neighborhood. What are the facilities that you have in your neighborhood? For example, supermarkets, or a gym, health club, bookstore, parks. You can talk about these things. And also, what places are there in your neighborhood? Talk about these places that you have in your neighborhood, just to learn more about them and how to describe your neighborhood. Also, on page 61, we have read a text, a very interesting text from these 2 young guys. The first one is Francisco, and he talks about his neighborhood and how friendly it was. He living in Mexico, and he said we have one of the landmarks in our neighborhood, which is the Blue House. Also, we have listened to John talking about the Brooklyn Bridge and the Prospect Park they have in Brooklyn. So also we have answered question about comparing our neighborhood with their neighborhoods, just to find some similarities and differences between our neighborhood and theirs. And also on page 62 we had a writing exercise where we said that, or where we read an email from a friend, Robert, to talk about his neighborhood. For example, Robert said in his email that we have, there is a supermarket, we have stores, bank, and near my neighborhood there is a famous palace, and we can walk every day. We have bus, but we walk every day to the school. So he talks about his neighborhood, the places that he has in neighborhood, and also I ask you to write similar email to Robert to write about your neighborhood. And also, as of the information, a very important technique that we need to use when we write our email, which is the personal pronouns. When we said that when you mention someone's name, you don't have to mention it twice. You can use instead a personal pronoun. For example, if you remember, we said, I live in a nice neighborhood it has friendly people. So here we use the personal pronoun it to not mention, so we cannot mention neighborhood again. So it here, it's the same as neighborhood. Instead of saying, I live in a nice neighborhood, the neighborhood has a friendly people, no, we can use it or a personal pronoun instead. Also for the second one, we use they instead, they instead of the houses. And also we use they here again instead of my neighbors. And the last one, we use we instead of my neighbors and I. So this is a better way to write an email to use those personal pronouns. And also on page 63, we had a very interesting function, which is the comparison. And we said that we have two types of comparisons. The first one, we call it comparative, where we can compare between two things or two people. And the second type is the superlative, where we compare between more than two things or two people. For example, we said that when we want to compare between two things or two people, we use adjective and we add to it er. For example, the hotel is tall, the hotel is taller than the office building. And if we have an adjective that is long, we can use more before. We can say, for example, the subway is convenient, the subway is more convenient than the bus. This is the rule of comparing between two things or two people. What about the superlative? Do you remember what do we say about the superlative, where we compare between more than two things or two people? We said that we use the adjective plus es and t. For example, the hotel is the tallest building in the city. And if it's if the adjective is long, we can use most before the adjective. We can say it is also the most modern. It is also the most modern. So this was a very interesting rule to learn about comparisons and how can we use them when we write or even when we speak. As the other unit we had on page 64, it was what are the people doing? So we have on that page, we have read about a helpline company, and we said that we gave an example of a helpline company we have here in our country. We said that helpline services could include the police, could include the ambulance, could include the civil defense, or even any company that has customer service. And we said that their job is for people to ask questions and find out or talk about something. So when you have an issue, you use the helpline. You call the helpline to ask for something and to try to get help. So we gave an example of this, and also we have read about too many people on that page. They have, for example, those people, each one of them is doing something different. For example, we said the first one, or the picture number one, Ken was watching TV, Ryan is surfing the internet, Matt is talking on his cell phone, Frank and Jason eating sandwiches, Mike and Darren are reading magazines, George and Peter are looking at maps, Henry is writing an email to a customer, Bidru is speaking to a customer, Jamal is working online, and Colin and Brian are chatting. So we said we have seen different people doing different things, and also we added more examples of those people who on that picture on page 64 and 65. And also as a pair work, we said that if you want to ask or if you want to know what the people are doing in that picture, you can have a simple question. You can form a question just to learn more about what the people are doing in that picture. That question was like, what is Ryan doing? And you can change Ryan with any name you'd like. What is Ryan doing? What is John doing? What is Ken doing? Okay. And we said that if you want to ask about more than one person, you can use the following. What are Frank and Jason doing? What are Ken and Ryan doing? You can add as many people as you like. We have learned this. And also another important thing when we talk about the present progressive tense. And we said that this is a very important tense, and we use the present progressive tense for the actions or for the things that are happening right now, right at this present moment. And also we have written the form. How can we write a sentence in the present progressive tense? We said, for example, we start with the subject, I, he, she, it, you, they, we. And each subject has its own verb. For example, with I, the auxiliary verb is am, and he, she, it, the auxiliary is. And you, they, we, the auxiliary we use are. So these are the subjects and followed with their auxiliary verbs. So what comes after the subject and the auxiliary verb? Here in at this point, it comes the verb and the ing addition we added to the verb. And why do we add it? Because we are talking about the action that are happening right now, right at this moment. So we have given many examples. For example, he is studying now. They are listening now. I am talking now. We gave many examples of this. And also, if you remember, I gave you an example about how to use contractions. So we can say, for example, I am studying now, or we can say I'm studying now. We can say you are studying now, and also we can use contraction by saying you're studying now. And and the rest we can use them the same. He is, his, and she is, she's, and so on. Also, as with the negative form, if we said that when you want to add not to indicate a negative sentence, where do we put the negative or the negative word? We use the not after the auxiliary verb. So the sentence will be, he is not studying now. They are not studying now. I am not studying now. So no matter what the auxiliary is, we use not after the auxiliary verb. Whether we use I, he, she, you, they, or we use not after the auxiliary verb. And also how to make questions in the present progressive. We said that we use them by adding the auxiliary verb in the beginning. For example, if we want to ask about myself, I would use am I. And if I want to ask about you or they or we, will use are in the beginning. And if I want to ask about him or her, I would use is. For example, am I studying now? Are you or are they or are we studying now? And is he or is she studying now? And this is how can we make question in the present progressive tense. Also, as to short answer of these questions, of course, any question in English that started with auxiliary verb, as we have learned, are the, we call them the yes-no questions, or short questions that only require an answer either with yes or with no. As we can see here, either we say when we have or when we use those auxiliary verb am, are, or is, the answer will be either with yes, I am, or yes, he is, yes, you are, or no, I am not, or no, he is not, or no, you are not. So this is how can we answer with a yes or no questions. And also on page 68, we have listened to Logan and Danny talking about their schedules, talking about their activities. And each one of them talks about the activities that he would like to do. And each one of them also talks about their favorite city, when Danny said that he likes Seattle. And after this, in the reading section on page 69, we have read about the teenager's favorite place. And we agreed that the teenager's favorite place, based on studies, was the mall. And why is it the mall? Because teenagers like to hang out, like to buy different things, like to try different foods. So this is why teenagers like malls as their favorite place. And we gave so many examples with the malls we have seen there, and the malls we have here. Also, we had a couple of interesting exercises about how to unscramble the words and put them in the right order, and these were the answers of that exercise, as we can see here. And also with the writing corner on page 70, we have talked about how can we use the personal pronouns. And as we said previously, that we use the personal pronouns to not repeat the subject over and over again. For example, my name is Hussein, I am doing my homework. So here we use I to not mention Hussein's name again. The same goes here, the same goes here, and here, and here. And we said this is a better way when we write or even when we speak to use a personal pronoun to not repeat things. Also, we have read a writing. We have read this text about Sarah's, who is talking about her activity and the things she is doing now. And we have an interesting question where we ask each family of her, or each member of her family, what is he or she doing? So this is, we practiced more about using the present progressive tense. And also we have written the same text by answering 3 simple questions. For example, what day is today, where are they, and what are they doing? Where we say you can write about yourself and also write about your family member and what are they doing at the moment. And also we learn on page 71 how to use would like, the difference between would like and would like to. We said simply, we use would like plus noun for the things that you want. For example, I would like a sandwich. He would like coffee. So these, we use them just for the things that we want. And we use would like plus to, would like to plus a verb for the activities, not the things, but the activities that we want to do. For example, I would like to read a book. He would like to watch TV. They would like to swim. And we had a couple of exercises about the difference between them. And now we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.